Hello and welcome to my show. My name is Rishankajones, and today I have with me Katherine Suarez. She's a brand strategist and a business mentor based in Italy, and she will be talking to us today about women and entrepreneurship. Welcome, Katherine.
Well, thank you so much, Rishanka, for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. I'm so excited to talk about this subject that's often overlooked. Women in entrepreneurship is a very recent development, I think, in today's world. 15, 20 years back, this did not exist. So, before we begin, before we begin with the questions and go into detail, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I started Nomad Atelier over now 18 years ago, and it was really inspired around my own journey of redesigning my life. I also worked in the corporate world like you, and we were discussing that before. And a lot of what was unique, I think, about my journey was that I took some time to really understand who I was, what were my strengths, but also my zone of genius, a purpose that I didn't even know I really knew about myself. And then I must say also that I had never seen myself as an entrepreneur. So the path that I have today, I would never have thought would be what I would be doing today. But it led me to really first go on my own journey of understanding how to connect the dots of my life, my passions, my zone of genius, my purpose, and all the things that I have as an experience. And I designed a business to empower other women to do the same, to design a business around their personal blueprint. And that's what I'm known for. So I always start with that when I'm helping a client, and then I help them design the business in alignment with who they are.
So, you must get to know people very personally to tap that side of them, to get that real side out.
Yes, I do. It's funny you say that because a lot of my friends are like, okay, you're like a psychologist at the beginning. And I am. It's kind of a psychologist, but more of like leading you to look at your whole life because there's like a life story that we have, whether it's our stories of our childhood, things that influenced us, even maybe like when you think about what you chose to study or what you are maybe doing now, there's something probably even from your past that was there where you didn't even realize if you start saying, oh my God, when I was small, maybe my grandmother would always, show me, I don't know, herbs. And then that's a passion that you have. So a lot of that is like seeing things that maybe were there already kind of guiding to what you're going to do today. And then another part is a lot about the limiting beliefs that we have. Maybe sometimes we don't do things because we think we're not able to. So that's part of the psychology. But then of course, that's a business part as well. But I think it's so beautiful because when I start with my clients, they're just like, okay, let's first start with very intimate questions. We're like, really? You're asking about my family, about my childhood, about this. And it's things that we really never thought of. And then when you're like understanding later of how I connect that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is where it helps me find their unique signature, connecting all the dots of things in their life and who they are and what they love and what they find natural to do.
That makes a lot of sense. Like, I could not imagine, it's like designing your home.
Yes.
Your interior designer needs to get to know you, your
Yeah.
personality, and your likes and dislikes to be able to give you what you want in your house, right? Similar to that, you're basically doing it for their business. But that's
I love how
that's
you gave the
amazing.
example, Rishank. It's a great example. It's like exactly, I mean, I love interior design. And sometimes I say to my clients,
Yeah.
we're going to look like at your home and we're going to go into the different rooms and we're
Yeah.
going to see the colors and the furniture and what are those pieces. And it's exactly what you just described.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that, right? Like you can't do it any other way. You got to like really go deep. But thank you for sharing that with me and with the audience. When you're dealing with women, I know you're specifically dealing with women and you also give advice to men, but women are your main focus. I feel like the first step is the hardest because I think the first step is the place where women just get lost. They don't know how to reach people like you, a mentor or a coach who'll actually guide them through that journey, right? So I personally feel we need more people like you
Thank
to
you.
help other women. But what is your path to telling people that this is what I do and actually convincing the women that I'll be able to help you reach where you need to reach? Because I don't think women even know that they can be helped like this.
I think there's a lot of coaches out there
Hmm.
or mentors, but they're maybe very specific for different areas.
Yeah.
So when you're an entrepreneur, first of all, as I work with women entrepreneurs, one of the hardest things is that I think at the beginning you think you can do everything yourself. You're
Hmm.
like doing everything yourself, you're experimenting, but then over time you realize that maybe you're not attracting the clients you want to be attracting. You're not being distinctive, as I was saying before, of what is makes me different from others in the room. But there's also the strategies, right? Or I have to do marketing, I have to do this. And finding those kind of, let's just say guidance, I really think it is a mix of two things. I think you need to be able to trust. And so you're going to probably maybe look for a mentor in a certain way, in a certain area, or in a certain type based on their energy. So that's one of the things a lot when I work with my clients, and I've worked with coaches as well. And I'm saying, you know what? You really just have to be authentic in owning who you are, your point of view, your style, and you're going to attract a certain kind of client. So I think in a way, to go into your question, it's about you being authentic in who you are and owning who you are. And then you're going to attract certain people as
Hmm.
clients. But I think, I mean, until now, I've been so lucky, Rishanka. I like have clients that they actually become friends always because,
Oh,
as you said, it's an intimate relationship.
yes.
And then you're like, okay, this is not just about the business. It's never about the business. Becoming an entrepreneur is never about a business, or at least not the kind of personal, so, entrepreneur, soulful businesses that I help build. It's about why you're here. What do you want to do? How do you want to feel? How do you want to design it in a way that you're also like still in alignment with your values, your dreams, how you want to be energetically. You want to work 3 days, 2 days. So I think it's something that, it's just, it's a path, but I've been so lucky in attracting those kind of clients that
Yeah.
it's just part of like I can't work with everybody either. So it's like, and like when
Yeah.
I see the clients that they're afraid, I'm like, the more niche you are and the more true and clear about what makes you unique, it's okay. There'll always be enough, about who to work with.
Well, that makes sense. And you said that you also meet some women midway where they've already started their journey of entrepreneurship and they need help with just dissecting all the different areas in their business and understanding how to do marketing, how to do this, how to do that. What are some of the biggest struggles women face, apart from just figuring out these how to's? What are the other struggles that you see they're facing when they're in this difficult journey of entrepreneurship?
I would say it can be difficult, but it's the most rewarding. Okay. Because again, I think
Yeah.
you know yourself. But I think really, which is going to be funny to say this, but the biggest challenge is themselves, their limiting beliefs. I work with whether women in transition or women who already have businesses. The two areas that I think really are holding them back is not the strategy or knowing what platform to use. It's about owning who they are, but they sometimes the clarity is not there. That's why a lot of what I do in the business is actually first helping you know who you are so you can own it and know what's distinctive. And the second are these limiting beliefs that they have, limiting beliefs about like, oh my God, I'm never, because there's a lot of money mindset, also limiting beliefs that we have. Or also if you're pivoting, because I also work with women who are pivoting, they're like, oh my God, but people already saw me doing, like we were talking about you, like a lawyer, and then I'm going to be now doing a podcast. And how did that happen?
Yeah.
And it happened to me as well when I was doing digital marketing and e-commerce launches for the North Face and these brands. And then I went to do like a business mentor, personal brand strategy. People are like, what? And you're doing these
Yeah.
beautiful workshops in the desert. And I'm like, yes, it's the possibility of seeing yourself in the next version of who you are.
Mhm.
And I think that's why mindset is such a key piece when you are actually building a business, growing it. And it's one of the hardest things. It's about mindset, about trusting yourself, and also surrounding yourself by people that are going to help you move faster, even if it means investing. And I think self worth is a big, big element, a big element.
You're doing a lot of like therapy, I think, for your clients first.
Yes, I do.
What I've noticed is, and I'm going to include myself in this list, that women are afraid to monetize something that they love doing, whether it's makeup or clothes, or because the business is not intellectual enough, or, you're not smart enough. I think a lot of women are afraid to do that and monetize it because of being judged. What is your advice for these women?
So that's so funny what you're saying. I literally just launched a mini course called Monetize Your Passions and Superpower. I
Oh
literally
my God.
did a little
Yeah.
mini course that I just launched. And in it, I help them go through different steps. One is to actually outline your passions and things that people come and ask you for advice for. Because these are the things that you never think you can monetize. It just comes so natural to you that you don't think about doing it. And by the way, there's a book that's very beautiful called The Big Leap that talks about the zone of competences or zone of excellences we have. So the first thing is like knowing what your passions, knowing what your superpower, and like asking friends if you don't know, because that's something they can do. Second is that I actually, in this course, I do show examples of like how to think about a passion, how it could be an offering. Okay, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, because sometimes you kind of outline all the different things that you're good at or that you love to do or your passions, but then you kind of think about if hypothetically this was a service or an offering that I want to do with friends or something that I want to do like really small, just like to test, there's this process. And I give a lot of examples of that. And then the third, it's going to be about your mindset. How do you see yourself? Because the thing is that we always already think it has to be the big thing. Oh my God, I have an idea, or I want to, like, I don't know, I love to cook. Should I do like and teach cooking? Because my friends always come over and learn how to cook. Well, then just test this little thing. It doesn't have to be the business plan already outlined. And I think that's what it is. I think as women, many times we're like, oh, we have to have the whole vision. We have to have the end game because otherwise we won't take the leap or even test it. And one of the things that I've even learned in my business now, even when I'm launching things, I tease it. I try to see what happens. I get feedback and then I do it a little bigger and a little bigger. So I think that's something that I would recommend, that it doesn't have to be a business yet. You already start as you are, like teasing and trying things because you love it. Then there comes a moment like, how do I monetize it? And I know
Mhm.
sometimes it might be hard by yourself. So you maybe work with a mentor like me that, or, whoever that is that can help them see and say, this is a business model. Like I love to look at business models around this to help them understand how.
So, are you also helping out with all the different things that go into monetizing a business, whether it's advertising, marketing, accounting, like, or are you connecting your client with the professionals and then basically just it's project management for you?
So actually, the core, and going back to connecting the dots, the core is that I first start with a personal blueprint. That's what I'm known for. So I help them connect the dots, passion, zone of genius, all the different things that could be the unique signature. Then we go into the business blueprint. I work with that with them. And I say, okay, now that we know all these different things, your story, your skills, your passions, what you love to do, what you know how to do, because most people already have something they've done. Then I'm like, okay, we work in the business blueprint. Let's look at the offerings. Let's look at the business model. Let's look at how you could start. And then I also work with branding. Okay. Because again, the personal brand, it's unique to me because I do all the steps. I'm like the psychologist, life coach, then the business mentor, and then the branding, which I'm very strong in because I love it. It's a creative direction. And I also really help a lot elevate the businesses. So you're going to come to me like, I want to create a business, but that's why a lot of women who are redesigning their life, they're like, I made this money. I don't want to give this up. So we design the business in a way that it can be elevated. And I'll be like, okay, why do you want to charge so little for this? Oh, because I don't know enough, or because of this. So we talk about these things to understand what makes sense. When does it make sense? Is it comfortable? We work on the personal branding, and then websites is what I did in my past life. I call in this life, right? I launched e-commerce websites in this. So I actually also help them with the website. I have my Nomad Studio. So if I'm working with women, I help them also launch with the website. And then anything to support it, like marketing and all the different things you mentioned before. There might be partners that I can recommend,
Hmm.
or they can be coming to me, and like I have clients, I'm like a silent partner. They'll come to me like, oh, I have this branding person. Do you think they're good? And I'll look at it and I'll say yes or no, because that's what I did when I was working in corporate. So I'm really about strategy, business, and personal brand. It's kind of the connection of the three.
Hey, you need to start asking for equity in all these businesses. I mean, with how deeply you're involved, right? It's not an easy job, like giving advice at every step of the business. I mean, you're like a board member of the company.
No, Rishak, it's funny you're saying this because but it's what I like. And that's going back to personality we were saying before. If I was doing the job with the same thing, I would get bored.
Hmm.
So I've designed the business because it's always connecting the dots from who you are to how to launch it. And that's what I would do in my, like before, I would launch things. I would launch the e-commerce for the North Face. I was a project manager. So now it is exactly what you're saying. There's project management, but more of it, it's like I'm accompanying them because I want them to
Also,
be independent. You know what I mean? I want them to be like, I want to empower you to manage your business and be independent. But you need to have the pillars to really say, okay, this is what's going to get me to know myself and own what I want to do and never give up. Because once you know the purpose, when you say you love to do these interviews, there's a purpose behind it that is deeper. And when you know that, when you start a business, you start monetizing. There are going to be moments when things are not easy. There will be moments when
yeah.
they're better. But when the things are not easy, you're going to be like, why do I do this? And this is
Yeah.
where you don't give up. That's what the difference of a purpose, self-led business really creates in you and guides you.
I have so many questions for you right now after this little 5-minute conversation of ours. But before, we jump into that, I want to know, you are so confident, you are so personable, and it seems like you were running a really great business. But I want to know, what were your own struggles when you pivoted into this entrepreneurial world as a woman? And that too, as, I don't know, I mean, in Italy, you would still be a minority woman, right? Like, I'm a minority woman in the United States right now. It's very hard to break in. What were your struggles, if you had any?
Yes, we all have struggles for sure. We all have them. But it's interesting you're talking about this, about like minority, not minority. I I kind of see again myself fully. And I lived in Zurich, right? And in Zurich, I had a friend who said the same thing. Oh, we're a minority. I loved being a minority. I
I
loved
love
being
it.
distinct. I loved being different. I'm like, oh, I'm Latin. I mean, maybe they're German, Swiss are a little more kind of, no, I'm loving it. And I think there's something about, let's just say not scarcity, but like being abundant and thinking I'm going to attract the right people. I'm going to
Yes.
attract, I've always attracted the right friends. I mean, those beautiful friends that are still in my life after so many years. So I think one of the things was really owning myself. And, if I think about it, my mom was very helpful in my journey in this because she was really like, I don't care what you do, even though you went to study at Boston University and study business. If you want to let go of the business, if you want to leave corporate and the North Face and all these big jobs. So I think part of it is that it's helping. I think the struggle that I felt, on the other hand, it wasn't from that point of view. Because I was very proud of everything I've done. When I worked in corporate, I worked well. And when I studied well. I think the struggle might have been money mindset. This was my struggle years ago at the beginning because
What
I was
is
like,
money
oh,
mindset?
well, it's kind of like thinking that you can't afford it. Okay. Couldn't, and let's just say that, for example, for
That's
me,
all of us.
yes, and we have it in different ways, right? But when I started my business, because I knew about marketing, because I knew about business, because of a lot of different things, I was like, oh, I'm good at this. I'm handy. And I don't want to say I lost 3 years, but 3 years I was doing everything by myself. And what I didn't know is that my mindset, the way I saw myself, I was like, oh my God, can I charge this? Oh, so would somebody pay that? No.
Yes.
So I invested in myself. And that's what I think it was my first thing. And the first course that I did investing in myself, which was like, I remember it was like $3,000. And I was like, oh my God, this course, am I like crazy? Because, you're not making that money you're making at the beginning. You're never making the money you can make later on.
Yes.
Right. And that's the hard. So when I pressed that button and then I learned about things about limiting beliefs, what you're going back, it was like a course all around the inner critic, which is the biggest thing that I work with women. And it's not that I'm an inner, like a mindset coach, but it's a thing that is needed in the journey. So I think that was more of like, and every single time I've invested in myself, every single time, like even with the PR, it'll be like, oh, this is a bigger investment and a bigger investment. I'm like, and then I'm like, and it's always giving me returns. So I think this is the biggest thing. People spend on travel, they'll spend on clothes, they'll spend on food. Everybody has the things where they spend easily on. I love travel. I'll spend easily on travel, but I won't spend
Mhm.
on creams for my face because I'm not that kind. Like that's not my passion.
Yeah.
So investing in yourself, we weren't taught about that.
Yeah.
Maybe the university for the career. So I think that's one of the biggest struggles. Then I kind of saw how it empowered me. I'm like, okay. And then when I thought I wasn't going to be ready, I would be like, okay, no matter what happens, I'm going to say yes today, this year. I remember I did this for a year because I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I can do that. And I made like a promise to myself. And it's a muscle. It's a muscle. The more you say yes, the more you think big, the more you trust yourself and see yourself fully. That's when you're like, why haven't I lost time is money. That's what people, energy is money. People don't realize that. And entrepreneurs started to do everything by themselves. So that's, I could say, one of the areas where I struggled and where I think a lot of women struggle.
It's mostly internal, right, for us,
Yes.
where we're constantly doubting ourselves. And actually, this is a great segue into my next question, which is personal sacrifices and work life balance and the expectations around managing your family and being a good wife or a girlfriend or a daughter or a whatever relation you are in, whatever capacity. I feel the expectation from women is way more than it would be from a man, right? Sometimes I feel people expect more from their daughters or their daughter-in-laws than their own sons and son-in-laws, for example,
In the
right?
family. In the family.
In the family. And I also feel like at workplace, and I've worked with some really big corporate companies in tech. If you're pregnant, you're out on maternity leave, you're probably not going to get that promotion that you were hoping to get because they start assuming that your next 2 years are going to be very busy and you probably can't manage the stress. Do you come across women who come to you with these kind of problems? And I know this is more like therapy and psychological stuff, but I feel like you are someone who can really guide people in this aspect as well. And how do you help them really push through their careers and not have that imposter syndrome or be doubting themselves that, oh, I need to be a good daughter and I need to be a good daughter-in-law and I should sacrifice work for that?
So I think that what you're saying is definitely something that women struggle much more with because time. We're going back to time.
Yeah.
And this is where I say, even when I start working with somebody, I'm like, what is the most important thing for you? Do you want to work 3 days a week? Do you want to work 5? Because I think you have to have clear this. And you're kind of saying, and what do you want to achieve as well? Because I think, again, women can be very hard. We can be very hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And some really need like only depend on this. Maybe they're the breadwinner, or maybe um, just or they're doing this as something secondary now starting, and maybe the husband doesn't necessarily, oh, but this is like a hobby, is this not really a business, right? Because there's also these situations. But the first person who will see this value is you. You're the first person who has to see it, and you're the first person who has to protect like areas if you need that time for yourself to work. And you're also going to be trying to make, or going to have to probably think about, what can I delegate and what can I not? Do I need to do? Like cleaning the house is the first thing like you shouldn't be doing. That's like probably a 10 dollar, that you can pay. And one of the things that I
Mhm.
actually do a lot when I start working with clients is that I kind of calculate based on how much they want to work, how long. They'll be like, okay, so what is your cost hourly? But not
Mhm.
because they actually need to make their packages around that, but it is for them to be conscious that what is the exchange of them doing things that they shouldn't be doing. There's a lot of things, first of all, I talk in the business, that you should not need to be doing, but we think
Like
we
what?
do. Like invoices, like cleaning the house, like the mix of the two things. Like, especially with AI, a lot of things are going to be changing, obviously,
Mhm.
even more over time. Or maybe even posting, doing a post. I mean, if it costs you $30 an hour and your hourly rate, if you look at the value, is actually 120, why are you not delegating this? Because you think you can't afford it?
Mhm.
So we kind of sometimes create this, we make excuses for things more than we believe and we realize.
Yeah.
I still remember, for example, what people say about maybe you changing, right? Oh, like, oh, you're doing this. Oh, you were, somebody mentioned, I remember once at a party, Margella, I remember it was like, oh, but such a shame. She left No North Face, but she's now doing this project. And it was funny because my boss was there, my ex-boss, and he said, now she's understood what she's wanting to do. She's much better than us. We're like in a cage, kind of closed in. She's already started her journey, and freedom was very important for me, right? So I think, values of why you do this is important. So going to your question, I think in the family, it's like, if you take it serious, if you commit to it, people around you can feel that. And
Mhm.
it's also about you protecting that space and that time to say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm investing in this, even to say, oh, I want to create a team or I want to help this. And being consistent and not giving up. And that's why I say knowing why you do it and your purpose has to be so well ingrained. And it's the way you protect, take care of your children. You take care of your children because you know they need to eat. You know, it's not that it's the same thing, but it's this commitment of yourself, of how you see yourself. And people can feel around you. If you're like,
Mhm.
oh, even when you meet a client, you're like, oh, this is the offer. And you say, this is the offer and this is how much, or I'm like, oh, this is what it is. You're looking down, you're not like owning it. It's a lot about you really being connected with yourself. Like, why do I own this? And how do I protect it? And also, when do I say no? I have, like, when I work with my clients, I don't know if I'm like lucky and I want to like be like this, but my clients never go over the boundaries with me. There's so much respect of time.
Yeah.
So I think that's something you create as you become more like centered in why you're doing and what you're doing.
To end things, I have two more questions, and I know somehow it's turning into this like psychology lesson right now, more and less about like entrepreneurship. Women trying to be leaders, I feel that's comes very hard to be a leader at work, to be a leader at home, to be a leader in a place that has more men, or even if your competitors are all like all men. How do you encourage these women to be like better leaders, more confident, and just like you said, own this position? It's very hard to survive otherwise, like in a man's world, if you don't have that support.
But are you talking about being in the man's world like this specifically? Because I think we lead a lot more than we think, first of all. I think we
We
lead a lot
do,
more,
but
you
I
know?
feel it's very hard professionally.
You're talking about careers and companies or about as
Yes,
an
yes.
entrepreneur?
As an entrepreneur.
I think as an entrepreneur, you're going to be able to lead when you have very clear, again, maybe that kind of like that blueprint of what you want to achieve, why you're doing it. And I guess that's why it's so important the work I do with the personal blueprint, because you can lead it in a way that you have to be clear to lead. You have to be clear where you're going. You have to be clear what makes you different. You have to be clear on who you're going to say no to as a client and who to say yes to. I say no to clients sometimes, and you would be like, oh my God, you're saying no to that client for. I'm like, yes, because I know energetically, I know I'm not the right person. And I know that that person, even energetically, will not, it's not going to be a one, like, we're not going to be the, you're working with someone and they may not see what they're getting. And then you might be like, you're frustrated. Why I didn't give them what I needed. It's about being, when that's the way of leading. Leading is not just about showing up and like, oh, I'm the best. Leading, it's about how do you lead your team when you're hiring? How do you lead the team to grow? How do you lead your clients to show the best version of themselves? Leadership can appear in many different ways. But I think when you're clear on why you're doing this and what's the best part of you that's coming out and what is the unique essence that you're giving to them, because that's what it is. I think sometimes women don't know what's unique about them. So it doesn't give them that clarity. And they kind of see themselves in a room with other five people and they're like, okay, well, I'm a business mentor like other people. Okay. And I say, I'm not a business mentor. You come to scale a business. You come to me to understand how to create a business, to design it around who you are and the business you are meant to create, like, just around in alignment with who you are. So it's different. I think it's clarity.
Just being clear and firm, I guess, right?
Well, being clear, but being clear on the whole like design of what you're doing and why you're doing it and how you're going to get there. And you're going to have something that it's a clarity and things are going to change in the journey. But you can lead that when you're clear because you're going to have that confidence to say, okay, this is what I need to do. And if I need to get there to be, I'm going to have to do these three things. And if somebody wants to try to kind of change one of those three things, I'm going to be like, no, because I want to get to point B. And that's why clarity is so important. And I think sometimes we think we know, oh, I want to start a business. And people come from branding to me sometimes, but they don't even know who's their client that they really want to attract. They really don't know their pitch, what makes them unique in what they do. So you kind of start seeing that actually the clarity that you think you have, you don't because you just have the idea. And you kind of say, oh, that's a business that seems to work. But what makes it unique because of you? That's the question that I always say. We need to understand why this is unique because of you and what's unique about you.
So, if you had a magic wand, what is one systemic issue or societal perception uh, that affects women entrepreneurs? Like, why do you believe that that needs a change and that you could change?
I think education is that magic wand that I would already say since, I mean, this is for boys and girls. I mean, it doesn't matter, but when they're small or when they're younger, to be taught, not just to say, oh, I have to learn math, English, geography, history, which are these common topics, but to also already be guided on unique traits and gifts. Some people, I mean, children, some you're going to that they're more towards, let's just say, playing with the commands and doing craft. Otherwise, they're going to be a little more numerical. Like if you look at children when they're small, you're going to understand already certain abilities and how that could be maybe cultivated and guided more
Into
throughout
a
the
business.
childhood. Yeah, because then when they're 18, they know what they want to go study and they don't have this confusion. They have to decide a career and they don't know.
Hmm.
And I also like think this is the mindset, right? That you're helping them understand and financial education. Those are the three things. I think we need to be taught on how to know ourselves and be guided to bring that best version,
Hmm.
which there's education that is making changes, but I think it's very niche still. The second, I think financial education should be
Oh my
taught.
God.
I listen to Prof G and I listen to Scott Galloway and I bought this book of algebra. Like I like it because I think it's true, especially women. We're numbers intimidate us. So we don't know that. And one of the things that I even say, I'm like, my life brought money into my life, but I haven't thought about how to grow the money that came into my life, which is something that gives you more ease later. So I think that's one, and also about like mindset. I'm sure there's so much bullying today at schools, and I hear my friends and social media, and I mean, I'm kind of lucky that I didn't. I mean, I think I'm super lucky, or we were lucky that we didn't grow up in that period where there's social media at school, and we would be so intimidated about it as a 10-year-old today. And how do you educate them, right, and give this mindset to be like, no, it's okay. So those are three areas that I think are crucial in education that I think are missing.
Oh no, that makes That's just perfect, I think, for closing this episode. It's just a mix of how women can really grow their business, their family, and just raise good children, right? If they have any. So that's amazing. Thank you so much, Catherine. This has been such a pleasure. I really enjoyed myself, and I could go on and on with like so many questions, but we're short on time. But thank you,
Thank you for inviting me, Shanka. It was
of
great.
course. Well, if you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. Catherine's details will be at the bottom in the description section and also in the comments. And until then, this is Rishanka Jones signing off.